Ayo, Flatman here. You like my Wheel of Time cup? What if I just talk the whole time like this? Would that just be amazing? I'd also like to point out the amazing Green Monster Suburban behind me and the wonderful, there we go, outdoor chair that is not an outdoor chair, but it is being used as an outdoor chair. I was gonna use it for this, but I realized that if I did that, then perhaps I would do too much of this, as one is wont to do with rolly chairs. So I didn't want to do that. Anyhow, happy Friday. I wanted to make a video about Star Wars, and there is so many things to make about Star Wars. So many things. But it was very interesting because I was watching the Book of Boba Fett, and I will say, hands down, I am so bored with the Book of Boba Fett. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you're like, yeah, I want me some Boba Fett. Like, I'm almost done. I think we have like 3 more episodes, and I'm just like, dude, this show is so bad is not quite the word. It's like, and vanilla is not quite the word. You know what? It's like the most generic vanilla ice cream that you can buy. Where, like, not even McDonald's ice cream, because that's like good. I'm pretty sure they just sprinkle MSG in there. But like, no, this is just like the most bland vanilla ice cream. Like, they had in the freezer too long and they just did it, or they just kind of made it and they're like, we don't care. That's kind of how the Book of Boba Fett feels to me. But there was something in there that, like, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's something in there involving a spaceship that, like, it hit something, and it made me actually want to talk about it. I was talking to my lady about it, and I was just like, oh my God, this is a video idea. Like, literally, this is how I come up with my video ideas a lot of the time. I'm just talking to my lady about something, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to write a little note about that. I'm going to make a little video about that. Maybe we'll put out some content. It'll be good. Anyhow, on to the subject matter. So one is shields, okay? I have a general problem with shields because it's kind of malarkey, in my opinion. I understand, like with a lightsaber, you can do a setting and it can go a certain distance, right? But when you have a ship, in theory, if you have a shield, like a shield generator, right? And you like set the knob to like generate a certain amount, then you have a big circle around the ship, and that's a shield generator based on the power output of your engines and stuff like that and whatever, and it can handle a certain amount of I can understand that. Okay, and if that's how shields acted, then fine. I would be fine with that. But most sci-fi really messes this up, and Star Wars does it worse because because you have this concept. It's just, they just do it wrong in so many different levels, and I'm like, okay, guys, so how are your shields? Are they like another thing would be like, so if this is your shield generator and it does a circle around, right? You're like, okay, cool. And then another option would be like, okay, you have your power source, right? And then throughout, let's say this is a spaceship, right? So then you have points all throughout the spaceship at different points, and on the other side too, because, you know, space is 360, which we'll cover later. And they project like umbrellas, if you will, of a shield generation. So you have overlapping things of mini shield projectors. And to me, that actually makes more sense in general. Like, if I was designing a ship, that would probably be better. But I would have to look at the numbers on it, and since this is science fiction and we don't have numbers on it, then... But the fact that Star Wars doesn't do either, and they're just like, oh my God, our shields are down! And I'm like, what? Or like, if you go into like Star Wars Episode 1, which is like the best, worst Star Wars... I get, whatever. And you got Anakin over there, and he's like, oh, and he like powers up his little thing. He's like, let me do some knobs and things, and boom, and then you see the shield go over the ship, and I'm like, it's like perfectly surrounding the entirety of the ship, and I'm like, how? That doesn't even make any darn sense. And if that was the case, if this little pod racer of a starship, and I know I'm going away from Boba Fett, but if this little pod racer of a starship has like a form-fitting shield, then why do the big pizza pie ships not have something like that? How do you get in later episodes like 7 or 8 where they do this bombing run and they're able to like slip through the shields because they're so close to the ship that they can just like drop bombs, which doesn't even make sense because there's no freaking gravity in space. So it's like, oh, hey, let's drop the bombs. I mean, I'm gonna choke on myself right now. I guess it makes sense because you are gonna get a gravitational pull from something massive like that ship. So if you have a little bomber that's like, ooh, and they drop bombs, like, yes, I guess one could make an argument. I don't really think this is how this works, but maybe that the bombs that they drop would end up going onto the big ship because of a gravitational pull because the ship is so large. But it also doesn't explain how the shields are not there and how Poe Dameron comes in and he's like, pew, 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 and just slips past. And I'm like, and also how the bombers like just showed up. And I'm like, dude, you have, I don't know, 10,000 people on this ship? Is nobody on the radar or the sonar or whatever looking at, or just looking with their eyes and they're like, oh, hey, there's a bunch of rebel ships over there. Like, seriously is bananas. And it pisses me off that they use these tropes. And yeah, and here's the worst thing, okay? The worst thing, and it was so darn frustrating when I thought about it. I was just like, why? This doesn't make any sense. And I didn't even have a solution. But here's how it is. Star Wars, their engines, their propulsion is bullcrap. It is based on gravity. It is they're like, hey, this is how would I explain it to my lady? Basically what they took was your standard jet fighter plane in the world, right? In America, in Earth, the place we live right now. They took that and they just put it in space. Well, there's a lot of problems with that because the reason why jet airplanes work the way they work, simply put, is you have a jet airplane and you have engines that go brrr, and then the plane goes up like this because you have wind going on either side of the plane. That's how planes work. I'm oversimplifying it a lot. I'm sure the Wright brothers and every other aerospace engineer is like, that's not how it works. You're wrong. It's way more complicated than that. But effectually, that's kind of the basics of it, is like big engine in the back of a plane pushes plane up and then boop, 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 and then keeps propelling it forward, right? And then you look at every Star Wars movie, including the massive ships, like take the Death Star out of it because there's clearly no like way that it goes anywhere. I don't know how it goes anywhere. It's so like confusing. I don't get it. That's neither here nor there. Different subject, different time. But you have these big ships and it's like, okay, cool, we're going straight. I almost wanted to make a skit about it where it's just like the first engineer was like, oh, excellent, we have made a ship. And they built the whole ship and they're like, let's go forward. Oh, wait, how do we stop? Oh, how do we turn? Oh, God, we're going into the sun. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Like, how does it turn? Because planes turn where you have, like, little flaps on the wings. I'm doing a horrible job of this analogy. That help the plane turn one way or another. And if it wants to go all the way around, it has to go all the way around, and so on and so forth. And again, it's based on this, like, hey, we're pushing this way with energy and force, and then the wind is keeping it at a certain level and the flaps are keeping it at a certain level, and then we can turn, right? But in space, if you ever read Ender's Game or know anything about Ender's Game or have thought for like 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 10 hours if you were stoned, which I've never been stoned, but I'm saying stoned people tend to think about these type of things, you'd be like, oh, hold on, this doesn't make any sense, because in space there's no up, there's no down, there's no left, there's no right, there's no direction. Everything is any direction, right? So like how we conceive of space and time is not time, but how we conceive of space is predominantly based on gravity, where we have this overwhelming push down this way and we're trying to beat against it as much as possible. But in space, you don't have that. You put something in space and you perfectly let it go, it's going to stay there forever until something comes and smacks it away. So if you have a spaceship, then you need to be able to go this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, all the ways very effectively, right? And obviously, if you have a bigger ship, you can't do that as well, but you still need to be able to maneuver it in different ways. And time and time and time and time again, in all space operas and all that I can think of, they have this thing where it's like this massive ship where it's like, blah, 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 blah. And then there's this like big engine platform, big, and it's like, dude, that doesn't work. How are you supposed to turn this? And they'll even have this like trope where they have some guy at the helm who's like, yeah, I'm trying to go right. But in realistically, no, there's no turning. What are you turning? You're turning a wheel. It's not going to turn. Explain to me how this ship goes one way or another. Because as I look at it, I'm like, there is no effing way that this ship is going to turn right, left, up, or down, or any other subsequent direction. How? There's no resistance. There's no, like, your engines aren't turning. And okay, that's the other thing. It's like, okay, cool. You're going this way, right? And if you are, whatever, and you want to go up, okay? So in theory, in space, you could have your engines shoot down and then you would go up, right? That makes sense. Or reversely, if you want to go down, your engines would shoot up and your engines would do this pivot thing, right? So in theory, you could have a full rotary engine that does that. It turns, but that's very limited on how you could turn. And it doesn't really, like, you're not going to be able to turn in a circle really, or it would take so flipping long to turn in a circle. So why, like sometimes in some movies I've seen, they have this thing where it's like, because it's based on like modern space exploration, where you have a ship and they accelerate, right? And then they're kind of like coasting over to their thing. And then they'll have little spurts of air that to get it to that right spot. And like that I admire, because at least you guys understand that, yeah, you're going to have to do the thing. And okay, hold on. I stand corrected. Battlestar Galactica, the newer TV show, I'm not sure about the old one, sorry, I never saw it, has a little bit of that. But they still suffer from the same tropes where the big darn ships were just like, we just go straight and then we teleport, and then we go straight and then we teleport, and then we go straight and then we teleport, and then we go straight and then we teleport. Because there's no turning. Like, I don't understand how a science fiction person hasn't like sorted this out and been like, oh, I have figured out the problem. This is how we do this. Like, I'm so upset. Like, why can't you guys get shields right? And why can't you get engines right? Maybe this is the reason why we haven't gone back to the moon, or why we haven't gone to Mars. Because we only understand go and stop. Go and stop. Like, that's the problem. Oh my God. So I had so much fun making this, and I know it's a weird subject, and I look forward to you commenting, liking, sharing, and hey, please, by all means, comment on other things you would like me to talk about, because I'm always hunting for more things to talk about. Anyways, thank you all. I'm trying to do more of these type of things because I'm a very expressive person, and as much fun as it is to do like the more Instagram, like up like this thing, I'm trying to have more of this. It's a little bit more of a setup, and I get OCD about like, oh, but is it balanced? And like, even now I'm like, it feels like it's a little bit like this. I don't know. Anyways, so by all means, like, share, subscribe, all those things, and thank you all. Deuces. I'll talk to you Monday. Maybe sooner, but we'll see. All right, bye.